Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so we're back at Haunts, and we want mouse things to work. That's the long and the short of it. Um, we came to the conclusion yesterday that the input things are just... I don't want to say like insurmountably bad or like atrocious, or they're just really hard to work with. And so we said, okay, maybe we need to let old stuff do what it was doing and come up with a way to get the functionality we want. And I'm flipping and flopping in my mind about whether that's the way to go or not. I think the thing to do is just embrace the idea that we will write tests that check for the behavior we want, and we can refactor aggressively. And also that the green steps should be the smallest, easiest step we can take to make the test pass. And so if it's easier to write something new than it is to make what exists maybe work, then that's what we do. And then if we find that the fracturing is slowing us down, if the fracturing is making it harder to write our tests, making it harder to green our tests, making it harder to do refactors, that's when we try to unify. Okay, so I think we're in a green step right now. Yeah. We want to get mouse events through a listener event, the click word instant match. We actually got 10 and 22. That's weird. Um, Before we get too far, dispatches to a list of listeners whenever a mouse event. Happens. We might say something like, borrow the old way to do. Other input things generate gin event instances at their discretion. We might want to make mouse listener we might want to change the mouse listener func API to report optional gin events too. I think that's reasonable, right? Right now it's just a kind of a void sync. We might want to have some kind of feedback come back from these listeners that we then end up adding to this group for symmetry with the rest of the input things. Let's write this down more concretely. Oops. Mouse listener things don't. Well, I should say the jan.mouse lists mouse input code doesn't support listener functions providing feedback. The old input code would optionally synthesize consequence event instances. We might want to support the optional synthesis in the new code for symmetry. So that's number 18. And then down here, to do number 18, here is where we could add to group.events if we decide to support optional mouse listener func feedback. Okay. Where is this? Clicktest.go. System test. So getting a 1022. That's weird. Do we have a logger for this guy? No. Logger is a log.logger. Logger.trace. Handling a mouse event. raw x is x. And then I know that we need what is it? How do we make a mouse input? Set logger. I'm not exporting it because I don't want it to be a thing you need to deal with outside of the input package. That being said, I guess the problem here is that if the zero value of this struct is no longer usable, if logger is nil, logger is glog dot void logger. I mean, I don't like it, but that at least won't crash. I wish Golang had constructors. Why? I keep hitting that problem. I don't know if I'm just not Golanging in the Golang way, but handler is gen.make logged with a glog.trace logger, and then it's this. When system, I'm just wondering, like, is this the actual input handler that's going to get triggered when we process a frame? Processing a frame means telling the system to think. And that's going to mean we're going to call gn.in.think. This is a dependency. The sys.think has a dependency on input, should be injected, but it's not. So we'll just do this. set logger log dot trace logger, and I'm realizing set logger has to be updated. But mouse logger. Alright, are we getting traces? Wait a minute. That's different. Now we're not seeing the click at all. It's not moving relative, is it? Which window? We should probably click that window. X and Y on the screen. Ah. So get the window geometry. Okay, we might need to get the window geometry first. Right? Yeah. We can probably cache it in the driver as to what the current geometry is. Wait for the window to be open and look up some of its initial properties. So we should say like window ID is something, and window geometry is query window geometry for the window ID. Yeah. How would we get the window ID? We would say search where name is some given string. Okay, for window by name, sys dot this is a green step, right? Don't hard code a window name. What is it now? We say system.create window, right? So tabby Linux.go create window. It's called Linux window. just that. Maybe we can just, instead of that, do the system handle is that, the window ID is the window ID, the window geometry is, no, window geometry. Now, query window by name. Window name is a string. We return a window ID, which will be what, an int, I think. Maybe an int. We'll panic if we can't query it. Okay, so the command, we're gonna run the xdo tool. We're gonna search for the name of window name. But we need the output from it. That's a thing that we can get, right? Sick. I mean, I don't want to do combined output unless we have to. Yeah. Alright, so I think what I'm going to do is let's not do more than we have to. We don't need standard error right now, so let's not get it. Okay, so output response, comma error, if error not nil. Otherwise, we're going to return the response, which is a slice of byte. And you know, if you don't care about the responses, that's fine. Font dot string scan mod D. That is an int. Now this returns an or an error. If error not nil, panic. Couldn't scanf. Mod. Couldn't scanf mod D from the result because of this. Result. Then I think we have to make sure n is correct as well. If n not 1, panic. Got mod D results when scanfing mod D from mod Q. But there was no error, so we don't pass it. Let's actually do this. If error not nil or n not 1, couldn't scanf from mod Q. Saw mod D matches mod W. There. So otherwise ret is a real int and we're good. Response. Okay. Return parse int result. Oh, hey Steel, how's it going? It's going well with me. We're working on mouse stuff. Basically, yesterday we did a bit of a run around to see like how can we script interactions with these windows, and it turns out the old school xdo tool is going to work on Windows Substance over Linux. And I'll deal with Wayland when I deal with it. Oh, you finished using SQLite? Yeah, SQLite. Very nice. Very nice. I'm glad you liked it. Call this must parse int because it's going to fail if we don't. Oh, hey. Acario, welcome, welcome, welcome. Why does this look so bad? If I want to check it out, maybe I can point out mistakes you made. I'm happy to do some code review. Yeah. If it's open source, send me a link on GitHub. I'll take a look. I might look first off stream, get kind of my bearings, and then next time you stop by, I can point out what I find. The other thing is, if there's certain spots that are particularly like head scratchy or you're not sure about, point me to them. And then maybe we can look at them now. I haven't done code review in a while. Everything seems pretty clear. Good, good, good. I think that's the marker of a good, successful project. If it works and you don't know why, that's a problem. Once I explain pointers? Yeah. No, once you get it, eh? So, that's... For better or for worse, that's just kind of how it is. What are we doing here? Oh. Query window geometry is not defined. That's fair. Query window geometry for a given window ID. We're going to return like a we will say that there's a I don't want to make other people know what an image rect is just because they're using my package. So some byte result is run xdotool with, what was it? Get window geometry. Get window geometry. And then the window should be window ID. I'm already getting annoyed that I have to sprintf all over the place. Factor out all the calls to sprintf. Just give a slice of any to run xdotool and have it stringify things. Go into lurking mode? Alright, cool. Alright. So we got some bytes for running that xdotool command. What do we expect that to do? Xdotool search any search name is .star. I don't know whose window this is, but I'm going to query it. Get tree. Alright, so that's the kind of thing we need to parse. I wonder though if there's a... Oftentimes tools have kind of machine readable output when you pass a certain flag. Makes it a little easier to do the parsing. And if we have that, I would like to use it. I don't think we've got it, so that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Example output at. We should do that. I want to actually encode that these are spaces here, not anything else. Yeah, we'll need to like that. All right, so the first line is going to be which window. Then we get a position, X, Y, some stuff in brackets we ignore, geometry, X, Y, happiness. I guess this is the root window, right? It's got kind of my two monitors. 1920 by 2 times 1080. Two monitors that are 1920 wide. Makes sense to me. If len result lines is bytes dot split split result on /n So if the line, if we got more lines than, if we didn't get the right number of lines, freak out. Expected 3 lines dot mod d. Cool. And then pause is parse position for lines at 1. Geometry is parse geometry for lines at 2. Return image.rect for pause.x, pause.y, geom.dx, geom.dy. Ah, sorry, missing a parenthesis. Okay, so we need a parse position. Fix a slice of byte. Call it line for now. And it returns a an XY. Can I do that? Do I dare? I mean, I guess it works. But God, it's awful. Alright, type point is a struct where x and y are ints. And then there's a type size. You get to return a point. Actually, forget that. Hey, Odmers, welcome. OpenGL plus Go, perfection. You work with Go, but you're learning C++ just to use OpenGL and learn more about memory management. Yeah, I would definitely recommend learning how C++ does memory management. It kind of informs how you're going to approach memory in every other programming language. I am using OpenGL with this project, and I'm using really, really old bindings, because this project actually is like 12 years old. I'll link you to how I found it, but basically, it was an old Kickstarter project that got abandoned. Like, not just started 12 years ago, but was abandoned 12 years ago. And so we have a lot of baggage. But that's part of the fun, part of the challenge, part of the story. Well, yeah, welcome. Certainly, if you see stuff you're interested in and want to ask questions, I'm more than happy to answer questions. Steele has signed me up to do some code review for him. If you want some help with your C++, C++ is like my bread and butter. That was my like a decade of professional work in C++. Alright, I'm just stubbing this for now so that it compiles, but parse position. So the position looks like string of 1. Is this what I'm meant to do? If they're not nil, and not 2. I already had a failure message somewhere. It's a message like this, couldn't scanf mod D. From that, saw n matches. My scanf instincts tell me I want that to be true, but that I'm not sure it is. So let's look at the docs. Yay! Now it might may or may not be sensitive to this leading spaces, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So this is basically the same thing, except this is a dx dy. Couldn't scan that stuff. Yeah. Oh, head is exploding. It's dx x dy, but this dx is a mod d and then a literal x and then a mod d. Yeah, on my left is the remnants of the man page for xdo tool. So I was looking through the xdo tool man page and then I quit out of it. But yeah, it's just a bash shell. Yeah, my whole cell dip is kind of weird. It's like screen, Like Vim is usually on the right-hand side, but I can put whatever I want over here. I can mirror it. I can do what I want, right? But usually Vim on the right-hand side, and then some number of bash cells over here, and then there's stuff in the background if I want to switch to it. But all that's running inside the Windows terminal emulator. Or sorry, being displayed by the Windows terminal emulator, but it's running inside of Windows Subsystem for Linux. So it's like Vim on screen on Bash on Linux on Windows. Does that make any sense? I guess we do need those fields defined. What kind of setup do you like to use? And am I pronouncing your name right? Odmers? Odd misses? ODMRS? What's your... You say you use... you work with Go. What's your kind of environment? Do you use VS Code? Or are you a terminal jockey? What works for you? Hey, look at that panic. So yeah, expected 3 lines got 4. Basically, 1 new line, 2 new line, 3 new line, and then the end result is like the empty string. You do it in a similar way, but only for Python and C++. For Go, you use Golang on a daily basis. I'm not familiar with Golang. Is that a... Oh, JetBrains. Okay. JetBrains knows what they're doing. Prefer to just use Vim for C++ than Python stuff. Yeah. I really like the terminal, especially because if I want to develop remotely, I can have a big beefy server somewhere. I SSH in, and all my tools just work. It's really nice for that kind of workflow, I guess. But certainly, whatever works for you is what you should use. All right. So we got raw XY, but they're not the same as what we expect, and I think that's because we need to adjust by the geometry. So d.logger.trace clicking at. So wx. I just want to verify my understanding before I get too deep in this. And then I want to look at the geometry. Oh, do we not have a logger? No, we don't. Thumbs printf it is. Your nickname wasn't designed for English. Oh, that makes sense. You're from Brazil. They pronounce it letter by letter, ODMRS, but you can speak it anyway, no problem. Yeah. ODMRS sounds good. Brazil is Portuguese, right? Yeah, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Does it have like a meaning in Portuguese? Okay, so we got a pretty simple window. 006464. So why are we getting 22 back? I bet it's the native code. Don't, if you're learning C++, look away now. This is not what you want to be writing. Remember when I told you that we inherited a bunch of stuff? This is part of the inheritance. Yeah. Brazilian Portuguese, because you have Portuguese from Portugal. Yeah. Oh, thanks for the follow. Welcome, welcome. So we're doing an X query pointer into X and Y. And as little as I know about OpenGL, I know even less about Xlib. But at least we have documentation. Root X and win X. Ah. Did we tell it which window? I think we did. I think we want win X, win Y. Let's see what happens. We're doing test-driven development, so if something breaks, if it breaks a test, we know what's wrong. If it doesn't break a test, we know we didn't break anything that's important. Didn't change anything. What? I am confusion. Find it's a pain in the butt to switch between screens from Golang to the terminal to publish to the server, then use VS Code to connect to AWS and pull up the changes. Tires you out. If you could do everything in one place, it would be a dream. Yeah. I'm surprised Golang doesn't have a terminal. And then when you say you connect to AWS with VS Code, are you like talking about deployment? I mean, if Golang doesn't have a terminal baked in, I might have to rescind my assertion that JetBrains knows what they're doing. I do like the aesthetic. I do like that aesthetic. Okay, so maybe you could just use that terminal. Is there a reason you don't use that built-in one? Hmm. It's because if you connect to AWS, because of the terminal embedded in AWS, everything will crash. Oh, use SSH, yeah. The only problem is that it's very manual to read the logs coming from Docker, but it's a good solution. I think I understand. Yeah. Luckily, we have no such things to deal with in this. It's just a flat Golang executable. It's going to run natively. This is what ends up getting returned, right? Like, let's just make sure we're not staring at something that doesn't matter. Ah. 10 to minus 602. So, I think this is correct. And then it's some post-processing that's janking us around. I remember seeing that there was something about that, and I can't remember where it was. It might have been in the Go bindings for native code. Did they say irony or throw away or discard? No. No, we just pass in WX. Oh, Linux. Yeah. Oh, okay. Here we go. You're still a trainee, that's why you're gonna venture into more low-level things to improve on CS topics. Cool. Terrible at the basics, and I have trouble learning features. I'm thinking of following learnopengl.com. You accidentally wrote in Portuguese. Have I seen that before? I have seen Learn OpenGL before. I'm only guessing at what you, even a file or sober mean. Have you heard of this site? Yeah. Certainly, I've used it as a reference sometimes. Getting the Hello Triangle going, I've used. Learning about textures, I've used. I always come back to this page to like remember. Where's the diagram? This diagram. Remember that positive Z is at me instead of in to the. I forget which way it is, and so I have to come here to look it up again. But yeah, it's definitely good for a bit of reference and for kind of following step by step and building up your knowledge. certainly stencil testing helped me. The I think some of this was helpful for buffer manipulation and stuff, but definitely this. I've also found. Oh yeah, I've got it bookmarked. I found these tutorials pretty good. I think, caveat, these lazy foo tutorials, they also cover like old OpenGL, which is exactly the version of OpenGL that I'm targeting, because this project is from 12 years ago. So, take it with a grain of salt, but certainly they have the mindset that learning from the kind of bottom up, like learning how like the bits and bobs work and then how those get glued together, will help you even in modern OpenGL, because all the pieces are there. They're just fit differently, and you have access to different things and stuff. Like if you learn the fixed function, I don't know if I'm totally missing the point here, but if you learn kind of the fixed function pipeline, understanding that shaders are actually replacing pieces in that pipeline, but still the process of like uploading geometry, applying transformations, and then blitting textures and all that stuff. A lot of it's the same. A lot of it's going to inform your understanding of the newer APIs, the newer versions, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I think I found my problem. We don't need to do this. We don't need to get the dimensions of the window and then, like, move in negative width of window. Okay. Progress. This is a different input test. This is like old tests. I think my test that I wrote works. Yay! Now we don't have to call glop get window dims every time we want to change X to X and Y to Y. Alright, let's look at these other failures. Input test.go. Line 634. Okay, so this is kind of an anti-pattern in testing, where you have this, like, you need to understand the testing framework in order to understand the test. But inject events is really just appending to this list of raw events an event that is kind of described by this gobbledygook. And then when you input.think on those events, it processes those three events. So let's look at what inject event. I might have written the inject event helper because they were copy pasting this everywhere, but we might want more abstraction for better reading, but that's not what I need to worry about right now. I need to worry about what is this test trying to test, and is it still a valid test? So I think braced for grossness and Barf City, but we're saying input package, get me a input key. Now that could be the spacebar or the J key. In this case, it's the x-axis for the mouse. They're using the same type to represent whether a keyboard key is down and how far the mouse moved in the x direction. You're learning DSA from scratch because you're bad at it too, and at problem solving in the style of LeetCode, so you're hunting to fill in the gaps in your knowledge. Then, after you improve on those things, you'll really get learning OpenGL. Or DSA, you mean like precursor to RSA? Am I remembering that right? The digital signature algorithm? It's kind of like old and deprecated, right? Anyways, public key crypto, right? DSA? Are you into that kind of stuff? Crypto stuff? Like cryptography, not crypto bro stuff. I don't have time for crypto bro stuff, but cryptography's cool. So they're saying the press amount is second to last. So press it for 1 and then 10 and then -3. And then this frame's press amount should be -3. Oh, and like the accumulated should be the sum of this. Okay. And we're getting 0. And then on I think this is just I changed something. Yeah, I added a line here, so the line numbers are off by 1, but that's fine. You can understand it. X dot is down should equal true. There was wiggle, but we ended up in the same horizontal position by chance. No, data structures and algorithms. Oh, DSA, data structures and algorithms, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty wide and deep topic. You know, there's a lot of data structures and there's a lot of algorithms. As a trainee, what would I recommend? I would recommend, especially if you're learning C++, this C++ has a good standard library and a good standard library reference. Oops. What is the... So there's this. Certainly the containers library. Like, look at map. Look at vector. Probably before map. But the nice thing about C++ is that the standard actually dictates the complexity bounds on a lot of the functions. So for example, resizing a vector. Oops. Was it just me or is this really slow? Why is Chrome stuck? Hello? If this website is hurting your brain as well, there's CPP reference. Okay, my Chrome is just dying. What is wrong, Chrome? Boot dev courses learn data structures and algorithms in Python in free mode. I'm not familiar with that, but that's probably a good place to go. Big O analysis, good. Sorting, yep. Exponential data structure, stacks, keys, links, yeah, good. These topics are something that I would want a trainee to familiarize themselves with and learn. I'd want anyone in the profession of software development to know. But yeah, looks good to me. Okay, so we've made changes to the input system, and it's breaking these two tests. The old way of doing axes seems to have been affected. So Okay, so for device type mouse, we're now doing this and not doing input press key. I think we might have to do both. Let's friggin' go. For what? Oh, that you've picked a good course? Yeah, let's go. What am I doing? If the type is device type mouse, handle mouse stuff, but always input press key because maintain backwards compatibility. Something. It's sad, but it is what it is. Yay, the green tests. Okay. Get diff stat. Not the biggest diff, but not the littlest diff. Get to do. No, get diff to do. Let's get add to do docs. Make note of between old input and new input. Okay, next up on the diff. We added Jin Mouse Go. 89 lines of beautiful Golang code that we'll never have to fix. It doesn't have any bugs, and don't worry about it. There's a bit of documentation changing / like this change here. It's not actually a part of adding mouse support, so I don't want to put it in the same patch, in the same commit. we are going to want to line 140-ish. And this is just a green step. We're allowed to commit heresy. We're allowed to leave nastiness in so long as the tests are green. I'm not sure, ODMRS, if you're familiar with test-driven development. But the idea is you have these like 3 steps: red, green, and refactor. And in the red step, you write a test that fails, but asserts that some feature of your system holds. So like the next time you want to add a button to a GUI, you would write a test that the button is there before you write the code that adds the button. And then you see that that test fails, and then you say, okay, that's the test, and that the test fails for the reason it should fail. And then you go to the green step, which is do whatever it takes to make the test pass, make all the tests pass. You're allowed to copy paste code, you're allowed to hard code values, you're allowed to do all the things that you should be doing but slow you down for the sake of greening the test. And then once the tests pass, you go to a refactor step, or as many refactor steps as you like, where you kind of go back and do the extra work to not leave crap code. It's kind of a paradigm shift for me. I'm kind of forcing myself to use it in this project, but I also think it's a good way to make progress on this project because there's a lot of code that does a bunch of stuff, and I have no idea if it's right or not. So I'm just gonna make assertions about the system, and as long as I have enough assertions, I can know enough about what's going on with the system. At least that's the hope. For some reason, your tech lead discouraged you from coding in this style. You were really sad because you were so excited about setting up tests. Yeah, I mean, that's not to say you can't use it at home. But certainly, like, if that's not how things are done, and your tech lead doesn't want to review the tests, it's probably their call to see if they want to bother investing in tests like that. And certainly, for juniors, writing tests is not easy. So learning TDD while practicing TDD professionally is tough. I would recommend against that. You never seen anyone applying TDD in practice? Yeah, it's oft touted and seldomly actually done. But certainly having the mindset of this is an important part of our system, let's have a test that exercises that part of the system, that's usually good practice, and that's usually worth it. But TDD kind of takes a very aggressive step forward in that, no, we don't write feature code unless there's tests for it. Depending on your situation, it might or might not be wise. And certainly if you're if you're joining a team that doesn't do it, kind of doing it yourself is not going to be helpful. Unfortunately. What was I doing? I was reviewing the diff, seeing if I could chunk it out into smaller pieces, doing the change that... Oh, we don't need any of the... We don't need any of the querying by window ID or geometry because we don't actually use it anywhere. We just log it. Yeah. Oopsie. So this is not what I want to commit, so that's fine. I might add the changes to my test driver and save them on a different branch just to have them, because I went through the effort of doing it. But I don't think I'm going to bother applying it to main unless it's needed. So checkout and branch to feature test window metadata. Wait. Yeah, it was just the. Well, let's add it, and then if it doesn't compile when we revert it, we know how to fix it. With most of the way towards pre-querying and saving window state in the driver. Not really. This was not really done with TDD. Alright, and then we'll check out main. Let's run the tests again. Yeah, we didn't need those changes to the testing drivers. And that probably really decreases the size of the patch, yeah. Alright, so add a mouse handler to input and do it, and then also fix this. I think we can add that in a separate change. Git add gin mouse and gin input dot input test.go. That can be deferred. Without a doubt, it should be more obvious to have tests on everything. Imagine the chaos if you update things that break things you had never even imagined. Yeah, tests are great for catching that. Certainly, like integration and end-to-end tests, kind of smoke tests they call it almost, kind of protects you against random changes causing random problems. But are you going to try using it in personal projects? Yeah. I wonder if there's anything similar in C++. Yeah, TDD is a mindset. You can use it in any language or framework that you want. Like, it's just that practice of following red, green, refactor, red, green, refactor, red, green, refactor, and whether that's with C++ or Haskell or JavaScript, nothing's going to stop you from behaving that way. It seems to me that the live has a delay of 10 to 20 seconds. Yes. Do you know anything about this? I think that's just stream delay. Like, it's just a case of bits have to flow from my machine to Amazon's machine, from Amazon's machine to your machine. How do you have all the VODs on YouTube? You watch some lives in your spare time. Really liked your content. Oh, thanks, ODMRS. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try to upload the VODs to my YouTube channel. I think there's a link in my channel. If you scroll down, yeah, YouTube VODs, you can kind of see what we've worked on before. Lots of haunts, but also this cool terminal thingy. But yeah, we've made progress, and I think the kind of cool thing about this project is that it's all in the open, and so I'm trying to like preserve the history of like this is the development that I put into this project, because you know the commit history shows a lot, but it doesn't show everything, and giving people insight into how the sausage is made I thought would be interesting, and it doesn't cost me anything, so why not? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is. Does this fix the tests? No, it doesn't. Refactor. Actually, feature add mouse listener support to Gin. There's already some old ways to get mouse input, but they're too scuffed to fix. They're too... Aw. They're too vomit to fix. TDD. This was a green step. What I want to do is stash this, run the tests. I think the test should pass. I guess I don't, because we're doing the jankness. I think that's fine. It's fine. This is just some fix-up comment formatting. In the part on C++ with TDD, you commented that there was some kind of stone's throw in this regard, because you know that it's in Go it's quite easy to create these tests. Oh yeah. Oh, how do you? Yeah, is there like a testing framework in C++? Certainly Go makes it very easy to write tests because they've got like the Go test built in. C++ does not have anything of that sort built into the language. But in terms of like a testing framework, I've used a couple. There's nothing stopping you from rolling your own and just having it like the test is build an executable, run the executable, assert certain things, and then it's up to you to manage stuff. But certainly gtest for C++. Even if you don't use it directly, concepts that it uses you'll see a lot in other places. I've used. Did I actually use boost test? So if you're just learning C++, there's a set of libraries called Boost, and so C++, the standard defines standard libraries, and it's got your things like vectors and maps and everything you need to write programs. But then there's Boost, and it is a series of libraries that kind of build on the standard stuff to make application programming a lot easier. And a lot of the things that end up making it into the standard were really incubated in Boost. Boost is like what the standard would be if C++ was easy to update. And when I say C++ is easy to update, if the C++ ecosystem was easy to update. Boost, you can move fast and break things. The C++ standard, they're very conservative because they don't want to break old code. They really value backwards compatibility because C++ is an old language, and if you break things that were written 20 years ago, you're going to piss off a lot of people. Worst case scenario, you can create from scratch. Exactly. You can write a makefile that compiles your code and runs sh scripts to exercise it, right? Like you can tests are just programs, and so all the tooling that you have for making programs you can use to make tests. The tests are typically, you want to make it easy to run repeatably and on your developer machine, so you'll use the tools that work in that scenario. But long story short, tests are code, so things like testing libraries help. Things like build tools help. So trying to think. I would certainly recommend Google Test before Boost Test. I don't think I've written a lot of stuff in Boost Test, and a lot of Boost Test is really about testing Boost and testing kind of an addendum to the standard library needs different features and things that probably testing your application code doesn't need. Like compiler support for like Borland C++ exists in these in this test framework. Supporting C preprocessors that are scuffed and don't support the standard is baked into this library. So it might depend on what you're working on. If you're working on a library that you're going to distribute, testing against a lot of different platforms, a lot of different compilers, a lot of different configs is something you'd want to do so that your users can use their tool stack, their stack. So that's when Boost Test might be a better idea. If you're just testing your own application, I would go with Gtest. Does that make sense? Hopefully I'm not just yelling into the void of my taste. My arbitrary taste instead of like decent advice. Certainly use what works for you is what I would go back to. But yeah. Fix. Don't worry about fixing up. Prefer x's window relative coordinates to our own to working around absolute chords. Fricks. I almost typed fricks, but yeah. Nice. Okay. Okay, so let's push this. Right now we've been working in glop, which is this like library that's like purpose built for haunts. So let's go to haunt. So pushing glop means haunts can reference that code. I've got a handy dandy makefile recipe to do the update that will reference it. Totally, it made sense. Good. I'm glad I'm not crazy. Use this commit pattern too. It's very good. Easy to find the commits. Yeah, the conventional commits. Yeah. I don't go so far as to worry so much about breaking changes. Most of my glop changes are breaking changes, and we're all in pre 1.0 anyways. So, but yeah, certainly, and especially if other people are going to be looking at your commits, or if you want to, run kind of metrics across your commits, having a machine readable standard format is super helpful. Even if it's just like when you're looking through your log, like you can just kind of see, okay, this is what I was up to, and it's not like random chaos. Chaos is not usually helpful. Ooh. Oh yeah, I started writing a very high level end-to-end test and was like, I need to back it up a bit. But yeah, I think we're in red mode. Okay. Um, so you should be able to click the menu. Let's click the credits menu, right? And so then I was looking at how am I gonna do this. And the way is with the new testing helper. So it was like system test dot new test window. No, with test window. Oh, I didn't expose them. That would be why they don't exist. Well, let's go expose them. All right. Okay, so the tests are green. We're going to add a feature. Let's add a test that checks for that feature. Testing the end-to-end click helper. This should be system test dot with test window driver. Okay. You just use feature refactor fix. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so my red test is that this should work. The with test window driver should be exported on this package. We're under system test underscore test because yo dog, I heard you like test, but the helper should be exposed on this package. Now this test fails, and it fails for the reason we expected. So that's a valid red test. Compilation failure is a valid failure of the test suite, if that's the failure you're expecting. So I'm going to add, and I'm doing something crazy in this project, which is I'm actually splitting out the red step from the green step from the refactor steps, which means there's going to be a bunch of commits in my history that do not build, that don't pass the tests, and a lot of people would not like that, and that's okay. In most projects, I would also not like that because it makes bisecting harder. Your bisect scripts have to be able to parse these commit messages and understand where the green parts are. But this effort is mostly about helping me get in the habit of TDD, so splitting them out is beneficial to me, so I'm going to do it. Test. System test helpers should be defined. Actually, I want no. This will be the thing. Yeah. System test helpers should be defined. Should be exported from the system test package. Alright, that's a red test. Let's green it. The best and easiest way to do it is do this. Okay, we get to organize imports. Hooray, the test pass. We greened it. That is all we need to do in the green step. Feature export. System test helpers. Okay. And now we clean up. So is there any heresy that we committed? Not really. We moved a couple of helpers to that package, and then we're still calling it where we used to call it. We still have the types that we used to export. Cool. The other thing I forgot last time was I needed to clean up some stuff. Oh, all that cleanup stuff was in the code that is on our other branch, our feature test window metadata branch. Okay. So I think we're done with the cleanup. Ship it. Oh, also, not sure who's still here, but if you're ever looking for CI for a open source project, appveyor.com. It just works. It's free for open source. Double plus thumbs up for them. I love them. This is my CI screen. Everything's green except for what it's working on. So, hooray! All right, so back to haunts. We're in a green step here. Let's re-update glop. And this will be, with test window driver on that size, and we get a driver, which is a system test dot driver. I will need to restart my semantic completer. It doesn't detect changes to GoMod for some reason, but whatever. So, okay, we'll need access to the render queue. Oh, and we don't export it. Okay, so really we'll need a with test window. And then we get a window. This still doesn't export or expose the render queue. So I'm going to go back to glop and add that feature. So oh, actually, I keep looking for a file that doesn't exist. You can say that again. You had taken your headset off. Oh, appveyor, appveyor.com. It's where I do my CI in this project. I highly recommend them. They're free for open source, and it's really easy. It was really easy for me to get done what I wanted to get done. Nice minimalist UI and good docs. So, yeah, appveyor for the win. But yeah, I want to have a better file structure because I keep looking for system test window and system test driver and not finding them. So I'm going to make them. And I'm not adding a feature, I'm just moving things around, so that's a refactor, so I'm not going to bother writing a red test. Kind of by nature, a refactoring shouldn't be kind of externally visible anyways. So your test should test your external API. It's better if they do. Sometimes you kind of need to not, but if you can, test your external APIs, and then that lets refactoring go on underneath to like re-implement a feature to be more performant, or fix a security bug that doesn't change the API, but your tests will still work, even if you blow away all your old helpers, kind of thing. A test suite that needs too much maintenance can slow you down. So testing that external API is really what's going to keep it from coupling too much to your internal bits and bobs. System test window.go. System test. So test driver has a test window. I think that's just a semantic completer. Yeah, my completer's tired. System test driver.go. So the driver can go there. Test driver things can also live there. Organizer imports. New test window ought to live in window. With test window ought to live in window. With test window driver ought to live in driver. Organizer imports. Format all the things. This probably shouldn't be exported. I will refactor that in a different step. Oh look, the tests are green. I haven't broken anything I care about, and what I do care about, which is what's tested, still works. The real like payoff in TDD is this kind of like brave refactoring. Like you don't have to do anything other than run the tests to know. In theory, in practice, there's going to be gotcha moments, but I'm okay with that. Refactor, reorganize some system test files. Okay, window things are in window, driver things are in driver. So this is not click.go. This is xdotool.go. And then we don't want to expose this. Oops. Oh, without wanting to be annoying, can you repeat about API testing, please? Not annoying at all. I love to chat about it. So, I was talking about when you're writing your tests, it's often advantageous to test the external API of your component or system or unit or whatever you want to call it, right? So, like in what's a good example? In C++, if you have a class and you've got like private fields and private functions, your test should not directly call those. It should call the public functions of your class. It should call the public constructor. It should call the 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 free functions in your compilation unit that are exported, right? It should pretend like it is a client of that component, and so therefore you won't unnecessarily couple to like the inner workings. Like imagine if I had a class foo, right? And the public things are it can bar, it can baz, and then the private things are that it can fizz and bloop, right? If I write tests, if we just imagine, in foo test.cpp, if I did something like void test foo, f, there's a foo called f, f dot bar, f dot baz, assert some condition, right? This is good. I'm using it the way clients would use it. I'm using it the way other code would call into foo. But if I end up having to call, f.fizz, what this does is it says if somebody wants to refactor foo and they don't need fizz anymore because it made more sense to them to write fizzbloop, right? Now this test is broken and it's going to take maintenance effort to update this test to call the equivalent. But there is no equivalent to fizz anymore. It's now fizzbloop, and you gotta like try to pick it apart. No. Only use the public API. So you only have to update this if you're already updating the public API. You'll have all the uses of foo to guide your hand as to what an update to the API looks like in client code. So that'll help you with how do you update your tests. But also, it forces you to write an API of foo that clients can use. Right? Like if foo was only ever going to work if somebody called f.fizzbloop, how do you expect client code to be able to call those private things, right? You're going to have to friend it and just break all the rules. No. Just stick to the public API. It means you test what client code is going to be writing, right? If your tests look like the code that the client code is, you've got a better test. And if your test doesn't have to change when some private detail changes, you've got a better test. Your maintenance burden is less. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Hopefully it makes sense. It makes sense to me. Hopefully I can communicate it properly, but yeah. And you can find that advice, in other places too. Like I did not come up with that property or that idea. That is something I was told and have learned the hard way sometimes. All right. Wait, what changed in? Oh, yeah. The calls to it have changed. Okay. -m. clean, don't expose the xdo tool helper from system test. Yay, CI was green. And it knows that commits showed up and that it has to run tests again, and it doesn't clobber what I was looking at when I loaded the page. Oh, lovely. I love you, AppVer. Okay, we're back to greening haunts. Maybe now we have the feature set. Actually, I don't think we do, because I don't think we exposed the render queue from the window. Yeah. That's, easy enough to do. Oh, sorry. Here I go, making features before testing things. Bat! No. We're adding a feature that we expose the queue in the window interface. So I'm going to write a test. Oh, actually, I've not changed click test. Maybe I don't want to change click test. I'm just testing an end-to-end click helper. Yeah, I'm keeping this. But I will say system test window test package system test. Also, I would encourage, in the same vein of only test the public API, that's why they have this concept of like underscore test. That's the package of your test code. You can write tests in the package, and Golang will let you do that and happily run it, and you can reach into package private things in these tests. But then you end up coupling to the internals of the package. So if you can, prefer to put your test code into a underscore test package. Test window. So test window has or exposes queue. Okay, so system test dot with test window, 64 by 64. Window is a system test dot window. The queue is window dot queue. Maybe get queue. And then if the queue dot should be a render queue interface. Why cast when I can just do var the queue is a render queue interface equal to window.getQueue. I mean, really, that's the code. The worst thing was that I thought it would only run if I put underscore tests on it. I mean, you lived in a world where you weren't allowed to do bad things. I've just opened Pandora's box. I've taught you about a terrible thing you should never do. I think it's pretty reasonable to think that, underscore test only runs, and especially because like the name matches the file name. I think the rule is that anything with an underscore test.go is what runs when you're really what gets built into your testing binary. But yeah, it's by the file name, not by the package name. Okay. Yeah, that's a good test. Yeah. Make sure clients can access the render queue when getting a system test window. Okay, let's green that test. Window. You get a queue. You get a queue. Everybody gets a queue. Yay! The other good thing about TDD is that it encourages you to take small steps. There's nothing worse than spending like the entire morning hacking away on a patch and you think, oh, this is so great, this is grand, this is wonderful, and then you go to run it and it's like, oh, it doesn't integrate, or oh, I didn't think about this case. And then now you have a big mass of stuff that's not committed that you have to like make work. It's a lot easier to get a little bit working at a time, and TDD, at least for me, helps me make those smaller steps, and so it's more reliable progress, if that makes sense. Feature expose the render queue from a test window. Okay, any heresy? That's why you'd like to use TDD, small steps? Yeah. It's a very good habit to get into, TDD or otherwise. Like oftentimes I'll end up with a big patch and I'll force myself to like break it up, and it's kind of painful to do. So hopefully I'm teaching myself to make it small first, and so I don't have to deal with breaking it up. But yeah. Okay. Oops, did I push? No, I did not. Golang gotcha of the day. There's a variable called go no proxy. I don't know if you know about this variable, but basically, when you run Go commands and it's like downloading modules and stuff and resolving go.mod, it always it by default talks to a proxy that Google hosts, and it basically mirrors GitHub. But it's not up to date. It's not like a live mirror. It updates every 5 minutes or so, which is pretty good for mirroring a whole thing like GitHub, but when I just pushed and I want to reference it now, I actually don't want to talk to proxy. The proxy is out of date. So you can set an environment variable called go no proxy, and you give it a name of a package. So if I say like github.com caffeine storm, foo, then that instructs the Go tooling. Don't use the proxy for these packages. Actually go to GitHub, please. And I wrapped that up as a helper because I was sick and tired of trying to remember it. But yeah. Okay, so we're trying to green this test. Hey, now we have a queue. So like window.new driver .click. Get location for credits. Now I think this would be a helper that takes in the menu. Where do we have the menu? It's called menu. Func. Maybe get button location. Menu is a pointer to a start menu. Yep. Pointer to a game.start menu and a button label, which is a string. I'm going to return an XY pair that you can click at. Okay, so menu layout. I know that the start menu has a layout. Yeah. As far as I know, start menus don't know how to report locations of buttons right now. Is that a reasonable thing for start menus to expose? They've got their own region. Do I want to start exposing this object from a start menu? This is where I want const from C++. Because I would return like a const reference. I think the mentality in Go is like, if you don't want people to change it, just tell them not to change it in the comments. Which, I mean, yeah. I prefer to have the compiler make sure people are behaving. And then if I can't do that, have the tests make sure that people are behaving. But as it stands, we don't really have that right now. Maybe the thing to do is understand that to make a game start menu, we need to tell it where to put things. So, give a start menu. So the problem is that this dependency is not injected. Not too many people call this, probably. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna make up a word now. Prefactor. It's like refactor before the red step to make the red step easier, or the green step. Sorry. Refactor before the green step to make the green step why words when show? Okay, so right now there's like a refactor, a red, and then a green. And then I'm like working on the green. Right? Kind of working on this. What I'm going to do is what I'm going to call a prefactor. So if this is like the Git kind of history or whatever. Anyways. T increasing as as we go. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna oop. Thank you, Paint. I'm gonna add a new commit right here. And I'm gonna call it a prefactor. It's a refactor step that I'm doing before the red step that's already committed. And it's going to make this green step easier to write. Prefactor. Trademark. I'm sure it's not trademarkable, but hopefully that makes sense. Whip. Rename. Checkout and branch. Prefactor. Where was the red step? I didn't have a red step. Eh? Oh yeah, I didn't have a red step yet. So this is what happened. They should have been separate, but they weren't. That's okay. Alright, we're gonna base it off of this. These tests are green. Yes. So I need to make insert start menu use a dependency, use dependency injection instead of coupling to base load process object. I want to see where else there's calls to things in base. Okay, I'm also seeing that there's this, so I'm gonna first clean up these deprecated logging things. There was an old way to log, and I updated it, and then instead of having to change all the old logging, I replaced them. I just refactor renamed to a deprecated error logging. So instead of that, it's logging dot. This is an error. Like so. I mean, convincing you to set up tests and work and just not upload them to GitHub. It's like guerrilla testing. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. But the maintenance burden of that might be pretty high because whenever somebody else makes a change, they're not going to run your test to see if they broke it. So, you know, maybe write a few, right? And then kind of like narco marketing, introduce it to colleagues of like, oh, by the way, I've got some tests. So if you want to make sure you're not breaking stuff, you can run these tests on this branch. And then before you know it, everyone's testing, and you get to do what is good for you. You definitely don't want to like step on people's toes, though, right? Like you don't want to force them to do it. You don't want to accidentally turn them sour on the introduction of it, and turn them sour on the process or the benefit, just by the way that it was presented, right? Like, yeah. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Trace. Clean, migrate some calls to deprecated logging to new logging. Okay, we want to have like a why not pass in a layout? We can't do this because this is not exported from the package. I mean, we can do it, it's just nobody outside of the package will be able to get a handle to a start layout. I'm going to comment this out for now. I just don't want to lose the code. But basically, anyone who used to call insert start menu needs to now deal with getting the start layout first. Yeah. This might need to be instead of insert start menu. I don't want to be copying values around. Well, if it's a performance issue, profiling will help. It's not like insert start menu is going to be in a hot path anyways. It's just not worth my time to optimize it. Oh, just start layout. The inline defined this as a struct. So like zero value here is fine. I don't want to have to type out the whole type. And I think I might have to. Right? Why does it have a menu? Why not a... So they have this like menu object, and it's just a struct. So like you could have just as easily said start layout has an x and a y instead of a menu.x and a menu.y and a menu.texture and blah 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 blah. Um, the naming. It's not a start menu. It's a menu config. Not really though. Do I work with backend? Yeah. I used to. Now I'm trying to focus on haunts, but previous jobs, yeah. I've done kind of like full stack stuff. You'll just read it from config. Do I have Discord or just personal? Some insights on backend full stack stuff would be nice. I do have a Discord. I don't think anybody uses it, but where I'm totally a professional streamer. I don't have it on my profile. And I don't have my link tree here. Yeah, no. This. Does that have Discord? I don't have it there. Okay. Sorry. Let me go find it. Open it. How do I Discord? I'm an old man. There you go. You can join the Discord there. Let me add that to places. Bam. I'll have to update that on my... do I have a way to do that from OBS? I don't think so. Anyways, yeah, there's the thing. I need to do them in my list, yeah. That's okay. Put it in the list, and then we order by priority, and then the important stuff gets done. And everything else was, well, we just didn't have time. Let's do ourselves a favor. Load start layout from editor. I hate this pattern, but we're gonna do it. Because that's how it's done in this project right now. But that's okay. Yeah, sure. You get a layout. You get a layout. Layout and error is game.load that from there. If error not nil, return error. Good enough for this. Yeah, they got a weird thing where like inserting the start menu is basically like, give me a parent widget and I'm going to draw into it a new menu. And then part of that menu includes buttons. And if you click on those buttons, you go to a new screen. But that new screen, you should be able to go back. So you drop a little callback in that button to call the insert. But it kind of makes your mind bleed a little bit, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just looking at this. This is what happens when we restart the game. I think what we'll do is actually load it in this callback. While we're here, been coding for 3 hours in Flow after 2 hours and dying at work. Coffee helps. Helps me. And I wasn't in Flow the whole time, but I can feel the fog building. Don't worry. Okay. I think TDD also does help to promote getting into Flow, which is not an easy thing to do reliably. Haunts. Game imports game. What? Game imports game. What? Yeah, don't do that. I don't understand why that happened. Oh, because I'm saying... Okay. You got me. You got me. This is a different game. Game UI credits. Yes, don't import game. We are game. Oh. Wait a minute. Are we not calling this from the test? We're not, because we're doing this. Return game dot load. Music helps with flow as well, I find. Couldn't load start layout from data. Not having to go to the mouse is also helpful, at least for me, and flow. Oops. If I have to like find the mouse and then find the cursor and then find the home row again, it's like blah. Hey look, the tests are green. We just did a refactor. I don't know if you can hear the mix, but this is funny. Refactor, take a layout as input to making a start menu instead of baking in the dependency. Okay, let's go to main, rebase, under prefactor. Hey look, the rebase was clean. Oh, feels good. So getting the start button location. Layout is menu dot menu config dot start layout. GitHub just show commits in master branch. It annoys me that it doesn't stay green in the tracking of commits there. Oh, this is this is an alias to git show tree. Git show tree is like an extra Git util that shows the tree of commits. So right now I'm on the main branch. That's where my head pointer is. But I also have a branch called prefactor, and it's ancestor of main. And an ancestor of that is origin main. And an ancestor of origin main is this comp branch. And then, whip dependency injection is a child of, or a descendant of comp. And so you can see that here is like the base of these two branches, the merge base, right? And then, it basically says, for all of my branches, find how it basically gets to the initial commit and show me what the refs are. The red just means it's a remote ref. The green is a local branch. Kind of beigey, kind of white, off-white, is tags. But that's how to read that. This is like the tree of commits, and it skips the commits that aren't that don't have a ref. Is that what you mean when you say it annoys you that it doesn't stay green in the tracking of commits? Or are you talking about like on GitHub kind of CI, it doesn't do what you want it to do? So still not accessible. I should probably just make it a public member. I'm going to do that instead. Golang, why have accessors when you just do that? What else do we got? Online. Settings. Oops. Bad wiggle. Might as well error ref. Uh-oh. Let's try to run this test in isolation. But it's looking like some not good things are happening. Might have to do with how convey works, which is sad. Startup specs. Let's run in the debugger, send it an interrupt, and see where it's stuck.
Feeling good, but not in the hood, because we're at technical.
Forgot to put GitHub in the phrase.
I got a question for y'all. Who out there is fucking drunk? No, I mean, who is really, really drunk? If you're having a good time, or if you're fucking loaded, give us a
How many go routines? What is it? GRs? We're purging on 22 and 23. Oh, no, no, no. This runs it on the queue. Ah. That's not what we want. Do we have such a thing? We could just call new test window. So we should do the old render test with GL for test.
motherfucker 3! Yes, now technical!
It's just perfect synergy.
So yeah, we need to use the old one.
Put your hands up and whip 'em back and forth for this one. Slow, nice and
It looks very similar, but it's just a different helper
got a lighter, a glow
from
stick,
Glop.
that makes the fucking
So
light up and wave it around.
now we have access to the queue directly, and we can say window is system test dot new test window on sys and q. Driver is window new driver.
The MC Loki and a superstar and a banana. She's got some fans, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, now technical.
Okay, green. So we can click it, but we should probably make sure that clicking it actually does something.
Good.
For now, I think I'm gonna call it. Oh, you're gonna have lunch? Sorry, I think I'm gonna end the stream now as well. So, thanks so much for stopping in, ODMRS. Thanks for the follow. Thanks for hanging out and learning with me. If you're gonna grab lunch and come back, I'll probably raid someone over on Twitch. So yeah, hope your lunch is tasty and delicious, and you have a great rest of the day.
DJ Transit. Future perfect synergy. Come on, technical, put your hands up and make the noise for this track.
Shake it all around.
Ooh.
Oh yes, now here we go.
Here I know this is the right, but I don't like to touch the pie. I just make the fire right. Trying to reach it, putting I try to read the money fly. What do you do when touching the world that makes it so hot?
Let's raid Emmolism.
Rocket to the sound of the hardcore bass with the DJ jam off tongue hanging out of his face. Come on, put it back in. No, we're gonna be riggedy whack. Ain't no way gonna give you a fucking heart attack. So come
But yeah,
on,
thanks so much for stopping by. This looks to be interesting, at least. I don't know if you're into Linux too much, ODMRS, but yeah, I will not forget to save the VOD, and I'm glad I could help. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you next time. They might be AFK. That's okay.